Hello everyone. So today I want to warn you or share my experience of using cheap or of buying cheap domain names. Now, never buy, never ever buy domain names from unknown websites. Now, you must be wondering whether you should get a domain name for yourself or not, whether you should get a website for yourself. Yes, you should. I think all of us should have a website. It could be just a simple website with one page, or it could be a bit complicated website. You should have a website for yourself. You should have a website for your own business. But when it comes to getting a website, I think even if you're a little bit, uh, you don't need to be like an expert, but if you can operate or if you can do something on computers, then you should do it yourself. But always try to seek some help if you are not sure. But one thing which is for sure, which is something that you should never do, is buy a domain name for free or like for very less money, because there are sites where you can actually get domain names for really cheap. Now, my personal recommendation is to buy domain names only from uh, reputable domain provider like GoDaddy. I think GoDaddy is fine. There are a lot of other places. Like I'm sure if you do your research, for example, I know apart from GoDaddy, you can also use Namecheap. You can also use Bluehost. And usually, if you are trying to get a hosting, for example, from DreamHost, for example, which I used by the way for many years, they will also give you your domain name. And GoDaddy, I think, has been fine so far. Although I don't really have a lot of domains with GoDaddy, but I know that it is good. Now the thing is, if you buy a domain name from a cheap domain name provider, then you can actually end up with some. You may face problems in the future, because domain name is important more than your actual website, more than your actually hosting. Your domain name is actually the most important thing, because that is your identity, that is your address on the internet. Now, I'm sure you know about a company, or if you don't know, I'll probably tell you. There is a company called I don't really think if I should share the name, but there is a company, a very popular company in India, where I had my domain names, and for some reason that company just ran away, or the company shut down overnight. It was not really like a new or a new company, or not a very well known company. It was a well known company, but of course it was not like GoDaddy, to be honest. Now that company, when it shut down, they had a support. They were not responding, and I lost a couple of domain names because of that. I mean, to be honest, it was not really my own domain names, it was my client's domain names. And when you purchase a domain name for your client is actually looking at you, right? So that is a problem. So and to be honest, those domain names are um, still lost. There is no access to those domain names. I cannot really transfer them. Yes, I cannot even transfer them. Usually if you buy a domain name, you should be able to transfer it, and there is an authority where you can complain, which I did, by the way, but that never really worked. It is a long process. But the thing is that if you buy a domain name from GoDaddy, then you can be assured that your domain name will always stay with you. So that is all I wanted to share in this video. If you are thinking of getting a website, you should, but buy a domain name from a proper company, not really buy something for 100 rupees or 200 rupees. I'm sure you will find plenty of examples online, plenty of sites that will say that, okay, we'll give you a domain name for maybe for free for the first year. And from second year onward, you will probably pay, something else like 100, 200, 500. I mean, it depends on the domain name. There are some domain names that are really cheap. Uh, I recommend that, go for a standard domain name like .com or .co.uk or .co.uk.in, if you're in UK or India, or .co.in. My personal preference is .com always, because it's like, it always works, right? .com is probably the most common domain name. Everyone knows about it, and it is easier to type. If you press, for example, if you're trying to enter a website, or if you're trying to access a website, you just need to press control enter, and it will take you to the website. So .com is by default the domain, and you can always go to GoDaddy to check for the availability of those domain names. Now I have few domains with GoDaddy, and they're fine actually. I mean, I never really had any issues. Although I mean, their support is probably not the best, but for a domain name, I think you will never really get into problems unless the company shut down, which is, I believe, a bit unlikely if you have a domain on GoDaddy. And whenever you register for a domain name, always use your real name, your address, and try to enter an email address that you know for sure will always there with you. For example, don't use your own custom email address like on your own custom domain, because that is also a domain name, right? So use something like Gmail, for example, because it is a bit unlikely that Gmail or that you will lose access to your email account. I'm saying this because you might need to verify your domain name if something bad happens, unfortunately, if that happens, right? So you need a valid email address to validate that, yes, this is my domain name. That is the registered registered email for that particular domain name. So a short video, but I thought I'll probably share it because I had some issues in the past buying cheap domain names. All right, bye bye.